non-intentionally, we're very secretive. Like it's almost like Fight Club. We just don't talk about it. And there's no rule book. When I was researching online before I went to trucking school, there was like no information. Like I couldn't find anything.
It's more than just a living, y'all. Hell, it's our way of life. We're the last of the cowboys. Giddy up, gone, boys. 18 wheels on the concrete. It's a slow and dying breed. Rolling like Jesse James. A modern day outlaw game. If you're out here riding with me, come on back and make some noise. We're the last of the cowboys.
Welcome back to Merging Lanes, where we have conversations with passionate and inspirational people in the trucking industry. And Colson, I love doing this show. I love talking to different people. I love talking to you and catching up, because it seems like this is the only time that we ever get to talk, because we're all over the place and it's crazy busy. But
you're a busy dude. You're a busy dude.
We're both busy. Busy. But if you guys are listening to this, go follow us on Spotify and subscribe and give Merging Lanes a 5-star rating on iTunes. And how was your Labor Day, man?
Labor Day was good, and it was good R&R. But cut right before that, Hurricane Ida really dominated the world here in the Southeast, and Alabama was fortunate in that we didn't get a direct impact, but our friends in Louisiana and Mississippi did, and our guest today might be able to talk a little bit about this. But I'm still relatively new to the industry, but even the weekend before Ida hit, trucking companies, even in Alabama, were staging trailers, and there's a tremendous relief effort, that really a great infrastructure that exists that most average people might not know about, where hurricane response, everything that gets to those areas that need response are delivered on trucks. Construction materials, or if it's water, whatever the needs might be. And I think Hurricane Katrina, unfortunately that it happened, but it also set a high standard of how those relief efforts are executed. And again, most of that stuff doesn't make it into the media. So, we spent some time in another big area for trucking for hurricane, any hurricane, but this recent Hurricane Ida is emergency waivers from the federal and state governments. And and it's a patchwork. So most people don't know this, but a lot of the ways those come down is they're usually size and weight exemptions if you're delivering goods or resources in the relief effort. But the states have a lot of autonomy, and so a truck going from Alabama across Mississippi to Louisiana or wherever they might be going has to go through different regulatory environments, and those states have to issue consistent guidance. It's a frustration for the trucking industry. Most states are very reasonable, but we, just like on a weight exemption, we had to work diligently to get Alabama's weight exemption for those hauling aggregate materials down, sand, dirt, rock, whatever it might be, to that area. So a lot of attention was given to that. And I know I didn't mean to get too much into that. But I think for those in the trucking industry, I'm just so proud of the role we play in any emergency relief effort. Trucks are always truckers are first responders in that instance. So
yeah,
proud of that effort.
And you don't even think about, driving a truck is hard on its own. And when there's flooding and a lot of craziness on the roads, it just hopefully a lot of drivers were able to get out of there and stay safe during the whole thing. And, thank God for, the drivers who are brave enough to go and supply those places. But thoughts and prayers for those people. And hopefully thank you for everyone who is going and giving some relief there. But yeah, kind of getting into the person we have talking to today. Mark, do you watch YouTube?
Of course I watch YouTube.
Okay. I didn't know this. I was reading it before this podcast that 74% of the United States adults watch YouTube, and that's more than the percentage of adults who are on Facebook, which is actually pretty crazy to me.
Yeah.
But the person that's a pretty awesome statistic for our guest today. I'm really excited to talk to Shelby from Happiness by the Mile. Shelby, thank you so much for coming on. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, what we'd like to do here and really hear the story and have a conversation with the guests that we have on. So, I really want to get this conversation started, before you even got into trucking. And, I saw that you have a bachelor's degree in psychology from Florida State, right?
Mhm.
And I'm not a huge college football fan, but do you follow FSU?
I don't anymore. I obviously did while I was there. My grandfather actually played for FSU when Burt Reynolds was there, and they were good friends. So that was really
Oh,
cool.
nice.
Oh,
That's
that's
awesome.
like the best fun fact ever for like a party, get to know you party or something. It's like,
Yeah.
my granddad played football with Burt Reynolds, which is, oh man, that's epic. Uh,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
great.
and then I also read that you were in grad school going for a master's degree, and then you dropped out to go get your CDL. So, I'd love to just kind of hear the story, the background of how you got into trucking.
Absolutely. It's a wild one. I know it's not obviously that common, but maybe in the future it may be. I just got really burnt out. I was back to back school, and I love the field that I was in. I was going into or trying to go into pediatric neurology and work with special needs children. So that was a really big passion of mine. But growing up in Southwest Florida, I kind of lived in a bubble. I really didn't know much of the United States or anything about it as far as like geography. And then also, I'd never seen snow. So I was like, oh my gosh, I know nothing. I have to get out of here. So since I was little, I think I always had this weird obsession with big trucks, but it wasn't like an open obsession. It was just in my mind. And I didn't really speak about it, but there was a few friends that I had in college that really knew about my weird liking of semi trucks, and that it was like my only thing on my bucket list was to one day drive one. And they're like, you know what? You deserve it. Take a break, take a gap year, go do something fun. And somebody had to say to me, you know, go drive a truck for your gap year, because it just didn't even occur to me that I could do that. And I thought, oh my God, that's the perfect plan ever. Because not only am I taking care of the only thing on my bucket list, but I am doing something that I've always wanted to do. And this is how I'm going to sell it to my parents, that it's a gap year. So, um, and so I did. I think I told my dad, and my dad was just like, kind of like, whatever, about it. And my mom, she was very concerned, very. And but long story short, I ended up doing it. I put all my stuff in storage, and I went to trucking school, and then I lived over the road for an entire year, and I just never went back because I loved it so much.
Oh my
So
gosh, that's awesome. I can completely understand the burnout of grad school, going from undergrad to grad school. And I it's funny how sometimes in life it takes that one person, like it's in your head, but it takes someone to kind of give you permission to do that.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, and that's funny. And then so you get done with that year. What was the conversation in your head and then with your parents after the year of trucking?
Well, I think my mom was very concerned about me, so she called me all the time, and the conversation was always like, you can come back to school, whenever you want. And I totally understand where she was coming from, because she thought that, you know, where was I going to go from here? Like, how was I going to support a family? How was I going to like have a kind of a normal life? And all of the things that come with like a parent, they just want you to be happy. They want you to be safe and healthy and be able to take care of yourself. And I think her not knowing anything about the industry is what scared her the most. Not my ability to handle myself. But I ended up just kind of running with it because I loved it so much, but knowing that I could move into things having to do with it. When you have a passion for something, you're not really limited to just one thing about that specific topic or thing that you're doing. I love everything about what I do. I love the people. I love what we do. I love how hard our job is. I actually really, really like physical labor. And I know that's really weird. It's one of those things that I feel like is kind of innate in me. And I want to feel like I actually did something with my hands to feel successful. So that did something for me. So even though I could write papers and do research and help kids all day long, it wasn't satisfying like a need that I had. And trucking does that for me. Not only that, but I really love looking at trucks too. So there's that.
Now, did you, I guess you obviously liked driving them as much as you liked looking at them once you got started, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Every day it's like a game. It's, can I fit? Where am I going? And what kind of challenges am I going to face today? And then, of course, just like everybody, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry, you have something new to learn. And I love challenging days. They may suck, but honestly, they are the best days because they're the ones where I feel the most like I learned something, and that's important to me. And it's about experience. So if every day was easy, then life would be boring. So
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And so you went to CDL school, you probably drove with a trainer for a little bit, and then did you go straight to team? Did you go on your own? What was that year? What did that year look like?
well, I did drive with a trainer. And yes, I believe the majority of my first year was team driving. And so I drove with a friend, and it was honestly super challenging. Of course, not just to live with them, but also to kind of navigate the world that we don't know. So the amount of problems that you run into your first year is, of course, like astronomical. And the ability to kind of not only calm yourself down, but calm your other person down. So whoever you're in a truck with, doesn't matter if they're your friend, they're a stranger, you have to treat that person like you're married to them, because you are living in a walk-in size closet, whether you want to or not, and you have to tote them along with you. So it's best just to figure out those kind of things to help de-escalate situations and learn about each other as if you're married to them. So it was absolutely challenging, but yeah, I think the first year I definitely teamed most of the time.
Gotcha. And I would say probably there's a majority of marriages that would not enjoy being stuck in a closet. I think I might be able to survive, but I think my wife would get annoyed with me really quickly if we were stuck in a closet. So no, it is an interesting dynamic and relationship there. And then so you're driving team, you realize that there's this thing called snow in other places of the US. You don't sweat right when you walk outside like you do in Florida. When did you decide, hey, let me start doing social media, making videos and stuff like that?
Okay, so the whole, I guess, idea behind why I started what I started was I felt like coming out of trucking school and getting out into the real world, and my first year or so, I realized how much we don't know. Not only that, but how kind of non-intentionally we're very secretive. Like it's almost like Fight Club, we just don't talk about it. And there's no rule book. When I was researching online before I went to trucking school, there was like no information. Like I couldn't find anything. And some of the, not only that, like unspoken rules that we have about like not sitting in the fuel island and knowing your time limit and things like that, those are all by word of mouth. And so there's just things like that I feel like, wow, like there's so much stuff that I feel like I could do. I've always wanted to be a teacher. So I actually did like a lot of teaching classes and internships with that. So that kind of allowed me to put things together and organize them, because I still like the academic side. And so I'm fulfilling that need here as well. And I really wanted to provide for people so that way they don't run into a lot of the situations that everybody runs in their first year. You're going to run into enough that I can't tell you how to do. And so just providing that little bit of extra, it gives me something to do, something I enjoy, but it also allows me to interact with people. Sorry, I have a grandfather clock in here and it will chime because it's 1, so it'll only be 1, but
No
it will
worries.
do it.
No worries.
And I felt the need to provide that. So what I did was I came up with the name because it was also, I was listening to a lot of things by monks during that time, a lot of podcasts and things, just mostly lectures by them to help kind of deal with like anxiety and stress in the job and how to kind of figure out what it is that I want out of life. And through that, I found, we're so in a rush from point A to point B that we forget about our life in the middle. We're chasing either a paycheck or a destination, and we don't notice it, but there's so much that we really just ignore. And we kind of write that part off about our life because our life only starts here and here, but not in between. So it's like, that's where the majority is. And yet we're not noticing it, and we're not experiencing it, and we're not taking the opportunities in between. So that's kind of where the name came from. And then I started posting on social media just a picture that had nothing to do with trucks. This is the craziest thing. Nothing to do with trucks, but yet I would write about my day, like in what I experienced today, what I learned today, some thoughts, something like that, but it was trucking related. And I grew just from not posting trucks to like 8,000 followers. And they were all truck drivers. It was crazy. I was like, what is going on? And so from there, it just kind of snowballed, and it became more into what it is now. And I'm still trying to we're bringing people in. I have a team now. They are helping me. And we just started getting rolling on trying to redo everything. We're redoing the website. We're getting, started on trying to post a lot more regularly on all of the social medias. And it's kind of where we are now.
Well, and I've said this, in happiness, for those who don't know, your tag is happiness by the mile. I mean, and I love the name, and I'm so glad now to know that it was inspired by monks, the name of it. But you do a fantastic job. And I would say for anyone that's even not in the trucking industry, it's a wonderful inspiration because of a couple of factors from my take on it. I discovered you on accident because I got in the trucking industry, but you're hopeful. Which, whether people know it or not, they want to be inspired by someone who's hopeful, even if we're in a state of depression. And so, but the most important thing is you're authentic. You share the struggles and the challenges of life, and also the job. And so everyone can relate to that. And I think everyone that is on social media, whether they acknowledge it or not, struggles with the role social media plays in their life and their relationships with other people and culture and society as a whole. And I'll tell you, I've been inspired just by the way you approach it. Also, Monera, I mean, I think both of you have unique approaches of how you're inspiring people with authenticity, with good information, and humor. And I think for anyone not following you, it's uplifting to me. You inspire me and your hopeful message, but also just about how to approach social media in general. And so congratulations on that. And I know that there are truckers. The other thing is, those of us in relationships in life, gosh, can you imagine, we never know what effect we have on others when you just smile at someone. But think about the impact. You have 50,000 plus followers on Instagram. Think about the positive impact you make, and you'll never get to know all the impacts you have on changing someone's day. So congratulations on that. I really do think that's it's remarkable. It really is remarkable. Mark, when you get 50,000 on Instagram, I'll send you a nice bottle of wine.
Thank you. It might take me a couple of weeks, but no, I'm just kidding. Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I think that whole kind of, idea of what you just talked about, but we all go from point A to point B and miss the middle. I mean, I think that is something that anyone in life can resonate with, and it's something that I struggle with too, because I'm thinking, okay, my business, once I get to this milestone, I'll be happy and I'm going to be pumped and it's going to be great. And it's like, okay, well, I gotta enjoy the process here. So I think that's awesome. And then I guess the one question I had was, so did you start those, I guess, I don't know if you call it Instagram blog, daily, whatever you want to call it. Did you start that in your first year? When did that all start?
I honestly started it at my second trucking job. When I first got another, I guess, time point where I had to start over and not know anything. So then it like occurred to me, wow, we could really like do something with this. And I am bored, so let's do this.
Gotcha.
I'm not bored with like my job, but I was like, sometimes there's only so much you can think about on the road, and I needed to be active. So instead of just taking in information, I need to give. And so that was my way of giving, even if it's to nobody. It doesn't matter. It was me creating something, and which is also a need of mine, is to create. So and then help people. And
Yeah.
the people that interacted with each of my posts, like they're basically like, I'm friends with most of them because they are like basically like, the OGs. And they definitely put in a lot of effort into each of their responses. I would get paragraph like comments back about people sharing their experience with something. And it was awesome because not only was I just started it. All I did was kind of be the Kindle to the fire, and they would take it and they would fuel it because they would put in all of the information that can only come from somebody else's experiences, which is important in our industry because there's so much we don't know and there's so much we can learn from everybody else. So it doesn't matter if you have 10 years or you have 10 days, you can learn something from somebody. And it's important to treat everybody with that respect. And even though we have veteran truck drivers out here, all the good veterans know you can learn something from anybody. So
Yeah, no, I agree. And I also think that a lot of people get caught up in the whole, well, Shelby already made a video about this, but there's a ton that everyone's got a different perspective and way that they teach something. And, I might learn something better from you versus when, Mark's trying to teach me something. It's the way that you phrase it. It's the way,
exactly.
the energy you put off to someone. So I completely agree. And so now you started on Instagram and then you started making YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I know, I think it's pretty crazy how big TikTok's gotten in trucking specifically, right? It's awesome. It's cool. And I think that it's like the perfect platform for the next generation to kind of see, okay, trucking is cool. And there's a lot of benefits and the lifestyle is much different than what our culture kind of portrays it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just got on TikTok, like, I think a couple of weeks ago, like not that long ago that I started it. Somebody else had started one for me, but we had just taken it over a couple of weeks ago, and it went from only, I don't know, I think it was like 10,000 followers, and now we're up to like 60 something, and it's only been a couple of weeks, and it's just been like crazy. But I have like all these ideas of things that I want to do, and a lot of it I want to be kind of educational and helpful content, and then of course like anything that helps uplift people, because our job is hard. We have hard days. I have hard days. Like there are days where I sit on the ground after I chained one day, went 30 miles, had to unchain, go 10 miles, and then had to chain again. And on my second time chaining, I was not strong enough anymore to put my bungees on. So I just sat on the ground and I cried at my tire. And I was just like, and that was just an awful day. The whole day, I think I went 70 miles. That was it, because it was so bad. But in that moment, I learned something though. I sat there and I think I cried for all of 5 minutes. And then I looked and then I got an idea. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could use one bungee and hook it onto the other bungee and have more leverage. And it worked. And I was like, oh, I'm awesome. I will use that next time.
Awesome.
Hey, how long does it take you to chain and unchain your truck?
I've gotten good. I've gotten really good. It used to take me like a good hour to do all of it. Now I'm pretty sure 30 minutes, like around there would be my average, just because I have to drag the chains out. But that's most of the work, is just literally setting it up and then putting them on. It's a breeze. Like if you do it enough times. And then also I have these really awesome chains now, and it's a company that I'm going to be working with, and I'm super excited about it because they're made in the USA and they don't rust, which is number one. And they're just awesome, and they have made my life a lot easier as well.
That's awesome. So now I guess I know we understand kind of the initial inspiration behind starting Happiness by the Mile. Where is, now that you're a couple of years into it? Is it a year into it? I don't know how long you've been doing it, but what's the vision? What's the vision for it?
I think I'm coming on, I think I'm starting my 5th year soon.
Woohoo! Nice.
So I don't remember. I can't, like, it's hard to count. I started when I was 22. I got my license when I was 22. I'm 27 now. But it was at the end of 22. So it was like 23-ish. So I don't know. It's so complicated, but for now, I do things in my life instead of making a plan. I know this is probably so, I guess, not common, because a lot of people like to have like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and whatever. Mine is more like a 10-minute plan and 2-day plan. And honestly, okay, it's not that extreme, but you get what I'm saying. If I want to do something, I have to do it like immediately. So if I plan out too far ahead of time, I feel like I'm trapped by that plan. So in order for me, and that's just a mental, I guess, probably disadvantage that I have, just because I feel that way. So for my contract for FedEx, for example, I had 5 days to apply and determine whether or not I wanted to apply, and then write a business plan as well, as I was delivering a load from Portland to New Jersey. Like, it was a crazy thing that happened, but I had to make a snap decision and say, I'm going to apply for this. I know if I apply for this and I get it, I'm going to have to purchase several trucks right away and fulfill this contract. And so I didn't really have all my ducks in a row. I just kind of thought, you know what, I can make a plan in 24 hours and I'll just run with it. And that's what happened. And I feel like the best things in my life lately are the things that make me the most happy, are the things that I don't spend time kind of planning, but I just take opportunities that pop up. I'm not saying that planning doesn't serve a purpose, because it absolutely does. But for me, taking opportunities as they come is how I tend to run my ship. Action
goes a lot further than sometimes the procrastination and trying to plan everything to a T. I completely. So you kind of mentioned it there so you started Bright Mountain, correct? Mm-hmm. And now how big of a fleet is that currently? 3 trucks. It's awesome. Not that big. Okay. We are in a bit of a slump right now. Of course, with the market with trucks, you can't get anywhere. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Like, and then the price of trucks, used trucks, are astronomical for what they are. And the only purpose that would serve for me personally to buy a truck right now is to maintain status quo. And so the truck wouldn't make me any money. It would just exist at this point. And so for me, that's not the smartest decision. So we're just kind of smooth sailing right now, and we're just taking it as it comes. And right now, actually, since that's working the way it is, I'm kind of looking into potentially getting a truck to fix up. So, I mean, that's something I would spend a little bit more money on. So we're kind of just waiting for the actual trucks that are going to work
for later.
Gotcha. And, the one thing that I wanted to kind of talk back, and I kind of forgot about it when we were talking about the social media and kind of showing and teaching, is, we talk a lot about the identity of a truck driver. And, something that is very, apparent when you're watching your content is that you're kind of single-handedly breaking some of those, old barriers of, who a truck driver actually is and the identity of a truck driver. And, I'd love to kind of hear your take on it and your perspective on it. And then kind of some of the things that you feel like the industry needs to push towards to kind of continue to get more of a diverse crowd.
So I think our industry has opened up a lot, of course, with technology. Technology has shed light on not only our industry, but many other industries. And of course, we're going to get different crowds of people now, because it's not just going to be someone who has family members in trucking and therefore they go into trucking. Now trucking is getting kind of it's casting a wider net. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of people that get into trucking for the wrong reasons, and then they get pretty much lied to, and then they fall out of the system. But I think with the generation of content from people like me, and who are just everyday people who are not trying to promote anything or a company or trying to recruit in any way, I think that is going to be a leading thing in who we bring to the table to understand what it is that we do and maybe potentially want to do it. I think the most important thing is, of course, spreading the right information and not allowing these mega carriers to recruit people like they're just numbers. And I think we're definitely starting to make a difference there, because I think people are starting to get more information than just what is being, I guess, commercially put out there. I think it's also, I'm getting a lot of people I know on my content that have nothing to do with trucking. They never even thought about trucking, and yet they like the idea of it. And I think it's also spreading trucking in a way that you kind of, for me, it's about where I go and I travel, and it's about the experiences that I have and the people that I meet. And for some people, it's about money. And I think, to be honest, I think if you get into trucking for money, you may be a little bit miserable if that's the only reason. But I know, of course, you need to make a living in some way, but you need to have some other motivation to do it, because it is such a hard job. And it can challenge you in ways that you never expected, just because you're away from family so much. And I think we're definitely hitting people that are like me, who have no immediate family members in the trucking industry, who know nothing about the industry whatsoever, just because there's people like me spreading kind of information out there.
Well, and I love that part of your story, because you didn't grow up and even if your family wasn't in trucking, you didn't grow up on heavy equipment or anything like that, right? And so for someone listening to your story or getting to know your story, hey, if Shelby can do it, I can do it. I mean, male, female, older, younger, doesn't matter. You don't have to have that background. I mean, certainly there are those that do, and that's fantastic. But you didn't. And we've done a lot of research, and we Mark and I on previous episodes have talked a lot about the perceptions that need to be. Some of them need to be shattered because they're inaccurate. Some of them may be accurate and they need to be changed. The facts behind them need to be changed. And you referenced both of those aspects in your comments there. But in some of the research, one of the great we've done and why people got into trucking, one of the great motivators is the adventurer, and you are the adventurer. That's what that was your motivator. Sometimes it's like you said, it's providing for one's family. Money alone is probably not a good thing to do anything for in life. And so I love that message. But what's besides the Bright Mountain, what's next? You've got the social media platforms. You don't have a lot of downtime to just enjoy yourself outside of your job. That's why you enjoy what you do, and I think that's cool too. But what's on the horizon?
Honestly, so far being to a bunch of truck shows lately, definitely want to potentially build a show truck. Because I think that is literally the top goal that I have in my life. But I think
Well, that
there's
means you'll do it within the next year, and you'll be just like
You're
your
gonna
bucket.
jump off
You knocked your
you're gonna
bucket.
jump off the podcast and just go buy a
Yeah,
show.
she'll have it next week.
I know. And what's interesting is I've never been afraid of going after goals that I had, but for some reason this goal feels like it terrifies me, because once I get it, what am I going to love more than that? So like I'm kind of scared that once I have it, what's next, you know? But of course there's like a ton of things that I want to do. It's not that I would stop there. It's just like that's the one that I want to do the most. So I almost don't want to fulfill it yet. It's kind of weird, but
Like waiting for
that's how
dessert.
I feel.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like once you have it, what do I'm sure I will probably be like, oh my gosh, I could like go and one of the things that really got me was sitting in some of those show trucks, especially at night during the light shows. I sat in one truck and I had this feeling like, oh my gosh, like this is it, like this is all I want, like, and it was like the weirdest feeling, and I was like, okay, now I'm scared of that feeling, because if I feel that again, like I will habituate to it. Like it'll become less and less like that. And I don't want that. So I'm really weird about it, but I definitely want to provide like a lot of content. But I love creating content on the experiences, because I know the experiences will always come, they'll always be different, and there'll always be something else exciting, on the horizon. I may have to wait a month, but it's trucking is just, it's so versatile that there's just so many jobs that I can do. That's number one. Like I definitely want to go do a bunch of different jobs. I want to do oversize. I don't know if I would be a good flatbedder, one, because of my size. And I realize that is definitely something that, is a disadvantage, but the tarps also weigh just as much as I do. So what are we going to do there? I don't know yet. So I don't know if that's in the cards for me, and that's okay. But I think it would be cool to experience a lot of different things. And that's kind of what drives me is, yeah, what you're saying, the adventure, but also like, I love to learn things. So that drives me as well.
Yeah, and I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head with we talked about different perspectives, and I think someone can come into trucking and be like, you can look at it from the what I say, the old grumpy guy perspective of, oh, I have to drive 11 hours a day, I barely get to stop, and I'm away from my family, and it's a terrible, I can't eat good healthy food, blah 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 blah. Or you can say, oh my gosh, I get to explore the US. I get to see all over the place, wake up somewhere different every single day. And I get to see the world, and I get to get paid for it. And I think that, I think that's pretty awesome. And, continually to every single day is a little bit different. You learn something. I think there's a lot of people who would really like that too. And, the last thing we kind of wanted to talk about, I think the people want to hear about Dakota.
Oh gosh, yes.
I like I said, I'm really focused on drivers' health, and I can't tell you how many times I talk to drivers, and the only thing that motivates them to get out of the truck and move a little bit is their dog. So I think it's cool that you have one. And is he a she, there you go, I messed it up. Has she always been a trucking dog? Did you have her before trucking?
I did have her before trucking. And I socialized her and I walked her a mile every morning, and I worked like night and day with this dog. And she was she was not the best puppy. She was so hard. And I think she was about 3 when I finally put her on a truck. She loves the truck, loves it, loves it so much. She knows so many places in the United States. Like when I'm driving down the road, she knows when we're gonna, because I stop at some of the same places all the time. And I don't know how she keeps track of time or anything like that, but she just knows places. And I don't know how to describe it, but she gets excited. She whines certain ways. And if ever I slow down to slower than 55 miles an hour, and I have made a video on this just for myself, my dog will jump up into the seat and roll down the window, anything lower than 55. And I can't stop it. There's no window locks on a truck. So it's just something that I constantly have to fight, but it is what it is. And she loves it. I had a lanyard on my air horn, and when I would leave the fuel island, she would grab it in her mouth and pull on it and blow the air horn as I was walking away. And this guy next to me in the island next to me was like, "Did your dog just do that?" And I'm like, "Yep." So I had to go back and take it off so she wouldn't blow it while I was in the truck stop. And I was like, oh man, just some of the things that I've gone through with her. She's so smart, but she's also super protective. So even though I socialized her, she is not a nice dog. Like, she will not be a nice dog. I cannot make her a nice dog. She does not like you. She will not let you come near me or the truck. That's just who she is. I heard that females are apparently more aggressive than males.
Okay.
And yes, she is a purebred German Shepherd.
Does Dakota have her on social media accounts?
She did, but I can't keep up with it. So.
I was going to say, if she did, she probably would surpass you in a few days. Those animal social media accounts go crazy. I mean,
I know. I should make one for her, but I'm one person right now.
Yeah.
I will put somebody else on it, and they can film Dakota all day.
There you go.
Well, Shelby, I really appreciate you coming on, and I think this went really well, and I think a lot of people, drivers and also outside of, in the trucking industry, outside of drivers, are going to get a lot from it and see a different perspective. So I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful to meet you guys.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much, and good luck and stay safe.
It's more than just a living, y'all. Hell, it's our way of life. We're the last of the cowboys, the giddy up gone boys. 18 wheels on the concrete, it's a slow and dying breed. Rolling like Jesse James, a modern day outlaw game. If you're out here riding with me, come on back and make some noise. We're the last of the cowboys.